So yeah, please let me know. Either private message me or email me tomorrow or something if you want me to take you out of the recording. So I have my little list here of 10 people, and I'm just going to mix it up depending on actually one person's not here who's on the list, or 2 people. All right, so we actually have 8 readers. I'm assuming you're going to read, Paul. I'm going to put you on the list.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. I'm going to put Paul on the list. All right. So I'm going to start with, so everyone has 4 minutes, and I've got my little, I've made a louder, last time I think people couldn't quite hear, because normally at open mic night we have a big bell and we usually have Les on it and banging it away when people don't stop reading. So at 3.5 minutes, the time is going to go off, and then at 4 minutes it's going to go off again, and that will be time's up. So the 3.5 minute mark is sort of to give you an idea of how much you still have to go. Obviously, if you're doing, a lot of you are doing poetry, you might not have 4 minutes worth, or you might read a few poems. It's up to you. And this is just so that we aren't here till midnight, because a lot of people do tend to go over the 4 minutes. I don't want to be kind of, a policewoman about it, but it just makes it kind of move along. I think 4 minutes is enough time for people to stay engaged with a piece. So I'm going to start with Paula. So Paula, you have 4 minutes so just before you start reading, everybody, if you could say the title of your piece and what it is, but don't, I think all written material should really be able to explain itself without much backstory, unless you really feel like you have to explain something, if say you're reading an extract from a novel or something like that. Okay, Paula.
Okay, you're right. A short story called Maniac. Ellen saw the bundle of rags on the road as she jogged round the corner. At first, in the early morning darkness, she thought someone had dumped them, but as she moved closer, the rags took the form of a body. Maybe a man, maybe a hit-and-run victim. A vague thought he might be a drunk or a druggie disappeared before it could be fully formed as a car flew round the corner and careered on by. What is it with these people, she muttered. Couldn't they see someone had been hit? She approached the body as she tried to remember her first aid training. What are those rules the instructor had drummed into their heads? Ah, yeah, check for dangers. Well, there were plenty of those in the form of motor vehicles powering around the corner. Could be in other dangers. Yes, snakes. Don't be an idiot. It's midwinter, and so early in the morning, the sun hasn't even come up. So no dangers except for being flattened by a truck. Big danger, that one. Maybe she should move him. Nah, his back might be broken. The instructor said, don't move a victim because you could cause more damage. Oh God, I hope nothing comes round that corner. Talk and touch. Or is it shake and shout? Can't remember. Can you hear me? Are you all right? No answer. I'm going to touch you if you can hear me. Don't be alarmed. Damn. Maybe she should call an ambulance first. Ellen fished her mobile out of her track pants pocket and punched in 000. I'm getting help, she told the body. What is your emergency? A voice came on the phone. I found a body on the road. I think I need some help. What is your name? Ellen. Where are you calling from? I'm not sure. I don't know if he's alive. I haven't checked yet. There's no danger. Tell us your address so we can get some help out to you. It's the road off the main road in Eltham, the one winding up towards Montserrat. I don't know what it's called, but I jogged for 5 minutes up it. Can you see a street name? It's bloody dark. I can't see much at all. And if a car comes round that bend, neither will they, and we'll both be dead. That's okay. We'll find you. Now, will you check to see if he's conscious? I've talked to him, but there's no response. I can't see his face. He's lying on his stomach. She was calling the body, although she wasn't really sure what sex it was. Carefully roll him onto his back. Ellen knelt down next to the body and gently rolled it onto his back. It was a man, and his eyes were wide open, and he had a smile on his face, and his hand gripped a carving knife. The knife was covered in blood. "Oh my God," Ellen yelled. She scrambled backwards away from the body. Her feet slipped on the gravel and she fell to a sitting position. A gurgling sound erupted from the body, developing into a laugh, a hysterical laugh. "Are you all right?" The phone, she had forgotten the phone. "Are you there? Ellen, can you hear me?" The man started to rise from the road like a zombie from a grave. "Help, help, he's alive." She scrambled backwards, pushing her feet hard into the road to get some movement. "He's got a knife," she yelled, aware that she would soon be at the edge with nowhere to go. The man stood tall, looking like a deranged maniac from a horror movie. Ellen knew she had to get out of there and quick if she wasn't going to end up a piece of meat for him and his knife. She pushed backwards until she smacked into a tree trunk. With an almighty scream, she levered herself to her feet. From her hand, the phone kept calling her name. She raised it and yelled, "Help!" as the man moved towards her. Lights flickered across the trees behind him. The sound of a motor hummed. The man continued on. Ellen moved into the middle of the road. The vehicle was close now. He kept coming towards her, seemingly unaware of the approaching vehicle. "Please keep coming," Ellen whispered. They were both in the middle of the road. She stood eyeballing him, even though she desperately wanted to turn and run. She was amazed she could see his eyes. The thought that it was getting lighter whizzed through her head. "Am I finished?"
Yeah, there is. Are you close to
Yeah,
the
nearly
end?
there. Yeah.
Keep going.
The motor echoed in her ears. It sounded like a continuous roll of thunder. Surely he must hear it. Surely he will move. The beam of light swung as a four-wheel drive powered around the corner. As the light bounced off the man's back, Ellen found herself sideways. The vehicle slammed into his body, and she saw him bounce up over the windscreen and onto the roof just as she closed her eyes. It seemed like forever that she lay in the dirt, afraid to open her eyes, afraid he might have survived, and now stood over a knife ready to carve. "Ellen, Ellen," the voice came from her hand. She still clung to the phone. A siren sounded in the distance. Someone was screaming in the stationary four-wheel drive. Ellen crawled to her knees, put the phone to her ear and said, "I think he's dead." That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, that was good.
Thanks.
I have to say, Paula, your reading of your stories is so much more engaging. Over every time that I hear you, it gets more and more engaging. So thank you for that.
That's only pure accident, believe me.
I think the more we do it, the more confidence we get, and we learn to slow down, because a lot of people read very fast when they start out.
I agree with you completely. Thanks, Blaze.
Yeah. I think what I'll do, because the timer, I don't seem to be able to find a timer that's very loud. So what I might do at 4 minutes, I might just say 30 seconds left. And then at 4.5, I'll say time. I'm going to say time's up, because I don't think people hear I don't know. Could anyone hear the bell then? I think it was a bit soft. Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
But I'll do that. So I think we'll have 4.5 minutes each, but at 4 minutes I'll say for like 30 seconds left, 30 seconds, and that means you've got 30 seconds to wrap up. Okay. All right. So, Marion's moved. Marion.
No, I haven't moved. I'm still here.
No, I know you haven't moved, but you've moved on my screen. Very strange. I don't know why it does this.
All right. So this is an extract from a novel. And you'll remember you may remember that last month I read about John Day, who was the Elizabethan printer and publisher. John had 26 children, and Campbell and I are descended from his oldest son, Richard. He had a very tortured relationship with his oldest son, and this is part of it. So let me see if I can engage you. So John has just caned Richard across the hands for stealing an apple from their next door neighbour. Now you are to go next door and apologise to the Major. It must be a sincere apology, Richard. He must hear the sincerity in your voice. Richard went. Once out of sight, he blew on his hands where the welts were rising. By the next day, there would be a painful bruise beneath each one. He squeezed his hands under his armpits and momentarily dulled the pain with pressure. As he came round the corner of the building, he saw that the Major was waiting for him. Well, if it isn't the little thief from the print house, he sneered. What do you want? Oh, please, sir, I've come to apologise for taking your apple. The Major thrust his swollen, ravaged face with its misshapen, blotchy nose into Richard's own. If I were your father, I would birch you. Oh, please, sir, he has already birched me. And Richard proffered his hands as evidence. The Major was unimpressed. Oh, please, sir, my apology is most humbly and sincerely meant. Oh, it is it? Will you tell your father I will accept the apology, but I want it in writing. In a fair hand, mind you, in a fair hand. Richard knew that this stipulation was because the Major guessed what an effort it would cost him to write with hands like these. And I want you birched. I want your backside birched until you scream. I want to hear you hollering and screaming for mercy. Richard retreated, visibly shaken. His father was waiting for him. Well? Richard repeated the Major's demands. Well, come into the library, Richard, and we'll give you what the old Major wants. Oh, no, Father, no, please, please. But John was in no mood for please. Unbutton your breeches. Oh, please, Father. John's patience evaporated suddenly and his equanimity vanished. Unbutton those breeches, he roared. He pulled Richard by his collar across the heavy oak table with more force than was strictly necessary to achieve his objective. Richard knew the routine. First would come 6 whipping blows, each mathematically timed to perfection, each cut burning pathways across his undefended posterior. The jagged pain from his protesting nerves would ricochet down his legs and up his back. Just as it was starting to ease, the second blow would strike, so that a continuous spread of pain was achieved. Richard howled and wriggled and screamed as the blows rained down. Then came the questions. Are you permitted to steal? No, Father. Swish, thwack. Ah, is stealing a sin? Yes, Father. Swish, thwack. Ah, what will happen if you steal? I will be burnt. Swish, thwack. Ah, does birching sting? Yes, Father. Swish, thwack. Ah, are you going to steal again? No, Father, I promise. Please stop. Swish, thwack. Ah, are you sorry for your sin? Yes, Father, I'm sorry. Swish, thwack. Ah. And then came 4 rapid blows which carried the pain to a terrifying level and left the victim only half conscious. When it was over, Richard slumped across the table, reduced to a quivering mass of pulped flesh, wrenching sobs coming from deep in his abdomen. All right, pull up your breeches, the implacable voice of authority. Somehow Richard complied. Stand in the corner. Unable to walk, he was dragged by his collar, his feet shuffling across the floor. Stand up straight, clasp your hands behind your back. Somehow Richard forced his aching body into the required position. His father stood back and watched for a moment, and then satisfied, he turned and left the room. As soon as he heard the door close quietly, Richard collapsed against the wall, howling silently with great racking sobs from the depths of his soul. He slid down the wall and subsided in a huddled heap on the floor. And there he wept, for the child he never had, and for the injustice of man. And he wept too, though he could not have articulated this, with a terrible longing for the support and warmth of a family that put love before righteousness and happiness before virtue. Sorry, I pushed the limits, didn't I?
Thank you. Okay, that's all right.
That was awesome.
No, that's good. I love watching Campbell listen to you read. He had a big smile on his face.
He's wonderful.
You obviously, he's obviously.
I do worry that Marion enjoyed writing that.
Yes. Thank you. All right. Michelle Burke.
This is from, this is just a mock-up. It's the introduction of Death, Dying and Beyond. Hush, can you hear that? No, the word popped into my head. Hush, can you see that? No, popped into my head again. Hush, can you feel that? Yes, I could feel something, but wasn't sure what it was. I had just walked into the kitchen with Ollie, our dog, barking at something in our back room, and my daughter Sarah frozen, saying, I'm not going in there, you have to. I had faced this same scenario many times before, although this one was different, as both Ollie and Sarah had a sense of something in the back room and didn't want to go anywhere near it. My body started to tingle and buzz from head to toe and became stronger as I moved closer into the darkened room. As I walked deeper into the room, I could sense something, a presence that I couldn't see physically, but could feel energetically. As I spoke to whoever it was in the room, my body tingled and buzzed more. I spoke to this entity through thoughts, telepathy, as we conversed and introduced ourselves. The entity I was speaking to was a lost soul looking for their loved ones and came across me thinking that I was the light that they were supposed to connect with. I told the lost soul that I wasn't their guardian angel or spiritual helper, but could assist them in connecting with their own team of spiritual guidance. We chatted some more, and then I asked them to see if they could see any bright lights around them. When they could, I told them that these were their guardian angels or spiritual helpers and to bring them in closer so they were touching them. Once we established a connection, I asked the lost soul to go with their lights. I then cleansed and walked out of the room and told Sarah it was now safe to go into the back room. Growing up Catholic, I believed in Jesus Christ and had a connection with Mother Mary, and believed in reincarnation and knew that there must be something more than what was playing out on planet Earth. My grandmother was Catholic and very spiritual and believed there too was something else, and had a friend that would read coffee cups and tell the future. She loved to take me around to her friend's house for coffee and wasn't aware that I overheard a phone call conversation that she had with her coffee reading friend about me and what was happening in my life at the time. So when it came to have my coffee cup read, there was no surprises to the information that was provided. This is true. I am sure my grandmother meant well, but I also believed that on the fence and didn't have a true understanding of spiritualism or of the unknown. Considering we were in the 1970s, the thought of following anything spiritual outside religion was not talked about or heard of. If anyone did work in the area like a clairvoyant, you only heard about them through word of mouth or recommendation and not in the mainstream or openly discussed as it is today. Now, with any kind of spiritualism, it is openly discussed, advertised with psychic fairs, spiritual expos being promoted and well attended. I find more people open to discussing all things New Age, although it really is not new, as this has been around since the beginning of time. History has shown us throughout the ages that people have sought guidance through the stars, mediums, rituals, and witchcraft, to name a few. The most fascinating experience is to know that most of us have lived through those times and reincarnated doing similar work in this lifetime. Since my grandmother has passed on 30 years ago, I have had the fortune to connect with her and have the odd conversation. She used to visit me in my dreams where we would be sitting somewhere and having a cup of tea and chatting. The dream felt real, so I know it was her. Another encounter I remember is standing at the clothesline, putting out the washing when she came into my thoughts, and I could smell the distinctive cigarette smell that's always surrounded her. The conversation or thoughts were around her funeral and how many people attended and how proud she was of her grandson who delivered her eulogy. She seemed lighter.
30 seconds, I mean.
Yeah, no worries. She seemed lighter and free and was happy. We chatted for some time and she vanished. I haven't had a visit from my grandmother in a long time, but occasionally I will smell cigarette smoke, and especially when I'm visiting my mother, as my grandmother was inclined to hang around Mum more often.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. I can't wait for you to show us your book. Thanks.
I know. I'm nearly there. I'm just going to sit down and do it.
Well done. Thank you. How are you finding this? Sorry, Michele. How are you finding writing this one compared to the last one?
It's different. Well, it's similar to Conversations with Paul, different to Traveling with Cowboy Paul. But this is, I'm finding it easier to write. It's more because it's my genre, and I do talk to dead people, being a clear medium. But I'm finding it's things are flowing. The book's very structured with what I have the vision for it, so that's already done. It's just a matter of sitting and it's all there. I just got to fluff it out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of a practical guide with it too, especially around death and dying, because I've cared for both husband and mother recently. All the information's in there of what you need to do before, during, and then afterwards. So yeah,
great.
And a lot of exciting stuff around it too.
Oh, good. We're all waiting for Michele to get on the Ellen DeGeneres show.
That's not going to happen.
Oh,
nah, it won't happen. She's not going to happen. So
true. Yeah.
No. So
I never know. She could be live streamed in.
Yeah, I don't look. I doubt it now, but you never know. Who would want to go to America?
I know. Yeah.
Not me.
Place is going to blow up soon.
No.
All right. Thank you, Michele. Paul.
Okay. Yep. Sure. Let's go. All right. I couldn't make up my mind, but I'm determined to read a couple of rough ones. Well, they're not rough, but they're new. One of them I wrote last night. Okay. I'll start with the rough ones and I'll come home strong. There's 3, but they're short. I'll finish them in 4. Babies. Babies are a thing that happens to other people. The kind of event you read about on Facebook, like a volcano vomiting on domestic homes, burying people alive. I don't hate babies. They're just a fact of nature. And there is a beauty, I guess, in a mudslide, the way it flows into every valley and cakes the boulders. If people are into that, it's nothing to do with me. I certainly don't blame babies for being born any more than I do a tornado for ripping through homes, tossing everything about as if it were playing with toys. It's really not personal to me. Babies are just a thing. That's one.
I love Shell's reaction. Thanks. Keep going.
This one is called Hello Cocky. Might I gesture now to the corellas in the tree? Would that I could bring your mind to rest on the question of the cocky's crest. If you look, you may find yourself eye to eye with a peckish turtle dove. By gazing into the lake for long enough, you may find a cormorant comes bobbing up. In the season of spring, you may very well see a sparrow zip past carrying a sprig. What more can I do than formally introduce you? Bird, Reader. Reader, bird. I have a thing for birdies.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm in the right place. I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's one of my proper ones. And this one will be in the book. It's a favourite of mine. It's called Common Burn. ADD is an absence held so close that you wouldn't recognise yourself or the world if it was gone. Sometimes it's a wrestle, but usually an embrace. For example, I'm driving the Emerald Monbulk Road. It's a warm summer's night. Common Burn by Mazzy Star. The vibraphone chimes shimmer through the car. I stray the way clouds do, across the road, looking up at the sky, a bowl of water. And I feel the world experiencing itself through me. I'm present to little things. It's hard to be close to me sometimes. I had a friend and he was telling me about something to do with breaking up with his girlfriend. It was hard to see her. She worked in the deli and he was in produce, I think. But a sparrow lands on the table behind him and begins picking at the scrambled eggs. She wasn't replying to his text messages, and the sparrow is so close, I noticed the subtle layers in the shades of brown upon its wings. And he was despairing, but then she hadn't returned the engagement ring. So, you know, wherever I am now, I'm somewhere else. The train doors shut and I watch my backpack glide by on the seat. Teacher throws a duster at my head and the kids laugh at me. I can't say where I'm going, but when I'm driving through the forest like this, I find I'm not so worried about the trees.
Perfect. Thank you. That was actually exactly 4.5 minutes.
I timed it before.
Thank you. You did have a collection, didn't you, Paul, of called something about birds. I seem to remember the title had birds something.
Oh, I had a tiny little book called Paul's House, Little Book of Birds. Yeah,
Yeah,
I did.
I thought so, yeah. I do take notice of things. All right. Shell. Where's Shell gone?
She's just run off to the bathroom.
Oh, that's okay.
So we'll have to put her on.
Okay. Martha.
Okay, I'm here.
Cool.
Okay, so let's start? Yeah, okay. So this is from Hello Kitty. I just published this with Busybird. Okay, I'm going to read a couple of poems. Okay. This is called Breaking Through. The old couple sitting, wrinkles over bodies, cuddling by the stove's flames that are warming their kind home. They were once thought of as a myth that their kind just did not exist. How they hid, kissed only amongst the allied. Then they awoke, chests out yelling, "We are here," and loving out of the shadows. So, and there's another one. This is called Now. They watch the young ones, old couple are proud that they can see that freedom, that visibility, that humanity. And they kiss now on their veranda and they walk at pride, smiling down that boulevard because they were never, ever a myth. Okay. And this is another poem that I wrote. It's called Suddenly Lavender. Suddenly lavender stole a gaze, my horse harness raised, like arched backs onto buttocks, as I lay riding a rhythm on her rump. A poet's folly, a sweetheart's hum.
Great.
And this This is another one called, thanks. This is another one called The Club. The place is no more. This is a documentary. I am that post on Insta years ago where hips grind and common thought combined was on that dancing floor. XOX, LED, LED, LED.
Thank you. Could you also show us, Martha, some of the visuals?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So these photos were selected based on some folio work that I've done over the years, and some digital drawings. And yeah, so running out of time.
Okay, you've got heaps of time.
Okay, so this is just a digital drawing. Start off with this, a little digital drawing.
So Martha's book of poetry is very visual.
Yeah,
that's why I wanted people to see it, because it's pretty.
As you can see, this is quite humor in there. There's, you know, it's humorous. It's, you know, it's yeah, and I mean, as you can see, I hope you can see that one. That's pretty funny. That's,
yeah.
have to laugh at that one. I'll read a few more poems.
Yep.
Okay. And this is going to be part of a festival in the summer, the launch of this book. So, okay, anniversary. Anniversary, bring me closer to the state of now. Throw my arms around her. Don't waste time. You need to remember this. It needs to be a good one. Inside, girl, I love you. Sometimes it hurts. The times I yell. I don't mean. My passion is for you. You are my fruit in the wood bowl, and I share the nectarine with you. And this second one is called Red Cap. It's about growing up and growing up queer. I wanted the little red cap. I was 4 years old, not understanding my mother's confusion. Why does she want this cap? My mother didn't like caps. I liked it, boys wore them. Unfair if I could not. I was able to wear my father's old red school cricket cap. I would hide under it shyly when we walked to Paran Market. The new red cap, my mother gave into it. I wore it proudly. I obtained a sense of confidence, pride, I think it's called. I was only 4. I felt that power upon my head. Today, I understand the background, the social anxiety of the parent at the time. These times, I do hope things have changed. We at any age can wear what the heart says.
Great, thank you. Timer just went off, by the way.
Oh, right.
Do you want to show any other pictures?
Well, yeah, well, Kev did the cover.
Yeah.
It was really good cover. So I really wanted to have any. Sorry?
Sorry.
Oh, the other.
No, sorry, go.
I wanted to make it quite cool the way it was put together, and so I kind of really worked hard on, and we worked together on all that sort of stuff. And then there's this middle page, which is an art piece that I did. That's a takeoff of Vogue, called Vague.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks so much for sharing.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Cool. Samuel, you're going to read, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So this is a continuation of The 2000th Singer, the book that I'm currently writing, romantic slash horror fiction. We are coming into it as the main character is just, Evelina has just been attacked by the, how do I describe it? The monstrous form with no eyes, no nose, and a gaping, awing mouth. that is basically represented itself as a small teenage girl, and has ripped her, who has sort of like, what's it called, a very dagger-like fingernails. Basically, think of any a little girl representation of horror movie, and that's pretty much what she is, of what this being is. But she, as you'll see in the next coming moments of the excerpt, will also have a lot more about her. Also, a warning, this excerpt deals a lot in strong wordings of death and possible reincarnation, but just a strong warning, as even I find it a little bit emotional when I read this sometimes. So hopefully you enjoy. This is the excerpt starting from when Evelina has just thrown herself from the entity to the side of the wall, and she's held herself up in a small ball, crossing her arms and rocking backward and forward in grief and sobs. This is the last bit before we go into the excerpt. Please, is the timer on now? Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. We begin with Evelina's exclamation of, "It's just a dream, oh please, just let it be a dark dream," she said through sobs and pain of fright. The moment she muttered those shaking words, of a familiar voice responded to her trembling statements. "I'm here, Lena." It couldn't be him, she thought, but as her stomach lurched forward and the sudden rush of new blossoming blood in her heart, she addressed his welcome new arrival. She cleared her throat tentatively and responded. "Peter?" she questioned, as his warmth calmly touched her stillness of her hands. "What's with your crying, my love? I'm always with you. I'm so excited and proud of you." His words cut Lena's heart in two. Tears swelled in her tightly red-ringed eyelids. "How can you be here?" she whispered through her sobs and rough, dry cracking in her throat. "Why do you ask me, Lena? I'm in front of you, in your hour of need, my inspiration, my muse, my light of love. Please show your eyes so you can see me again," he requested in his beautiful, insightful tones of uplifting fulfillment. Lena's heart burst with exquisite delight, but a sudden jolt of grief overtook her just as heavily. "How can you say those wonderful blessings to me?" she whispered back to him. "I watched you die. I remember the stillness I felt watching your gorgeous sky blue eyes dissolve into a darkness of abysmal nothingness. And as I held your warm hand and felt it turn ferociously ice cold, but I still couldn't let go. Peter, tell me, why are you here?" she sputtered out, with a bitterness full of fueling her questioning desires to reach out and embrace him. Silence filled the air between them, as his warm, large fingers wrapped around her trembling, small 10 gaps, interlocking together as he had done only a few years before, mesmerizing her spine in the same innocent flare of their first intense romantic morning. Shy, but also incredibly courageous, moist, heated, and truthful expressions of intimacy. She leaned forward and finally let her body stop its convulsions of cold grief. She held his fingers tightly and squeezed them as the warmth ricocheted through her entire being. But more tighter than before did she close her eyelids and squeeze them tightly as his darkened outline briefly appeared under the hazy, minuscule amount of her vision. "Oh no, it is you," she exclaimed in utter disbelief, and turned her face to the left as his large hands slid away from their loving hold as the sudden sensation of small impacts of his 5 fingertips landed carefully, caressing and guiding her trembling, soft-skinned cheek. She felt his moist mouth administer a soft, vibrating kiss on the top of her shaking forehead. Her body calmed, and the blood, sweat, and cold fear falling from her ceased. That brief moment, his actions spoke more than words.
30 seconds.
And she fell into his cheek, hitting the fabric of his collared shirt. Sobs of joy billowed from her long black eyelashes. "There you are," he whispered in her ear. Their right combined hands still held tightly between both of their pounding hearts consecutively. Lena wrapped her left arm around his waist and splayed her thin fingers up and down his spine, pressing inwardly and compressing the soft fabric as close as possible so that the feelings inside her...
Did you have much to go?
Oh, quite a bit, yes.
I love the way you read, Samuel. It's like we're at Shakespearean theatre. I love it. Thank you. Okay, Shell.
Hi everyone, I'm Shell. My thing is true stories. I've had a glass of wine. I'm a one-pot screamer, so I have no idea what's going to happen. Here we go. This is called Sewing Lessons. It's a one-way conversation, true story. Your mummy asked me to talk to you, not about the homework, but because you've been crying about the split. Do you want to talk about it? Okay. I see from the shoulder shrug that I'd better do the talking. What 17-year-old wants to talk to his auntie? You just watch the Kung Fu movie. Can you turn it down a bit and give me a bit more of the doona? Got a shock, didn't you? You didn't know Mum had a boyfriend. And I know it was like a punch on the footy field. You didn't see it coming. And now a muscle's torn and you need stitching up. But you want to be tough, but it's hard because it's not your biceps, it's your heart muscle.
Sorry, Shell, can you go a bit louder?
Yep, bringing it closer.
Sorry.
I know you don't know this, but I'm the only one in the extended family who had a step family. The difference was that my daddy was dead, but you can still see yours. Oh, okay, yes. Crying's good. Better out than in. I get it now. You're scared you won't see your daddy. Here, put the pillow on my legs and I'll rub your head and I'll tell you a story. I had 6 years to get used to my mum's boyfriend. I opened doors with him. I let him into our house and into our lives. I was his sister's age, 12. It was round 7 o'clock on a school night when the doorbell rang. My mum was in her bed watching TV when she called out in a loud whisper, "I'm not home." That's how I knew that she knew it was him. I opened the wooden door and straight off, a gust of wind tunneled in. Outside, it was dark and damp. Joe was wearing a woolen jumper under a tweed jacket, and even 2 paces away, I could smell cigarettes in the fibres. His hair was wet from the dash from the car, and even though he was a robust man of 50-odd, the whole picture looked so pathetic that one idea sprung to mind: Saint Bernard's dog. Indeed, he was on a mission to rescue my mum. Mum batted him off for years, but you've only had 6 weeks and things are changing too fast. Oh, okay, where's the tissues? Here, use this. What's a bit of snot on the pillowcase? It will come out in the wash. Most things do. I know Mummy doesn't understand how you want her to be happy, but your daddy is not just the daddy. He's the other half of you, your flesh. And when they split, it tore you in two. And you want to know how you can hold them together to hold yourself in one piece when there's no peace between them. And you wish deep down that they could patch it up so you'd all be one piece of fabric again, not needing stitches. I know, 17. You're just a little man. So stay under the doona blanketed. And I promise you that one day, when the stitches break, it will not be a sign that your muscles have torn, but that you have healed.
Done. Yay!
Sorry, just near the end there, the sound went out, so we weren't sure if that was it. Thank you.
Do you want me to reread the last bit?
No, I think I got it, but I wasn't sure if there was something else coming.
No, that's it.
Cool. Thank you. I just got these messages saying that the internet was a bit. Did everyone hear okay? Because the internet was going in and out here. All right. Well done. I don't have anyone else on my list. So for those of you who weren't on the list but are here, does anyone else want to read something? Because we still have a bit of time. So either Gabriel or Mel. There's two Mel.
I don't mind reading.
Yeah.
I'm not a great reader, and if I get a bit nervous, I'll just stop.
Okay.
Yell out. I don't want to go overtime either.
That's okay. I will give you a warning, and it's very good practice to read your own work.
Yeah, and I've got a dog behind me that's making a bit of noise, so sorry.
Okay.
And there's a bit of swearing in the book.
Okay, nothing.
So is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, the dog starts scratching as soon as I'm reading. Okay. I struggle to understand how I'd managed to ruin my life because of one bad decision. My client's money had disappeared inside my penthouse apartment, yearly vacations and entry to the best restaurants. I'd risk everything to make millions and rub shoulders with Wall Street bigwigs. It all began with my colleague, Jimmy Martin. Jimmy was a top financier in the firm, and he had the largest office boasting a panoramic view of Lower Manhattan and the harbour. His success was nauseating. Don't get me wrong, I was earning a comfortable income, but comfortable meant boredom. I was bored of my job and bored with myself. Boredom was killing me. I decided to invest the Russian mafia's dirty money in a biotech company that seemed rock solid. It offered me cash in hand as a bonus, so I couldn't resist. With some creative accounting, I covered up their identity and even invested my own money in what I was told was a sure winner. I felt a buzz dreaming of millions I was going to make. How wrong I was. 2 months later, the biotech company director was found cooking the books, and he disappeared along with his company's money. Not only had I lost my money, I'd lost $400,000 of the mafia's money. To make matters worse, the investment I'd picked wasn't in penny shares. I'd taken me weeks to research the company. In the end, no amount of research could have provided information on the ethics of a director. The director is now declared missing with a few extra million in his pocket, and I'm declared running for my life. Fucking bastard. In my childhood, the parents of my Russian buddies had worn their fingers to the bone to give their kids a better life. The doors were open to anyone who wanted to share their family Sunday lunch and a swig of vodka. I couldn't understand why I'd taken the risk and associated with the 1% of Russians who were thugs, conducting community terrorism. I knew one thing, I wouldn't be invited anytime soon to their family lunch. Jimmy's words rotated like a razor in my gut. Curtis, correct me if I'm wrong. Rumour has it you made a deal with the devil and lost. I've heard the Russians are coming, and they're coming for you. I didn't make any deal. The director stole his company's money. He gave himself a nice retirement package and skipped the country. There was nothing else I could say to the slimy arsehole without sounding like a complete dropkick. I felt like a child facing the school principal and justifying insolent behaviour. He gave me a last verbal souvenir. Good luck keeping alive. They've survived a violent history, and they have a ruthless leader. Brutality is in their genes. So don't expect them to email you a friendly reminder. From what I've heard, the Russians' dirty money is synonymous with America's political corruption. They're back to using nerve agents they like to call fertilizer. I wouldn't stick around here, Curtis. You've lost the wrong guy's money. Curtis, sorry, wish I could help. fucking asshole. Why did he state the obvious and give me some fucking history lesson? What a dick. As if I didn't know. But he was right. I knew I was a dead man walking. The partner of the firm called me into his office. He locked the door and handed me a bottle of bourbon and a gun along with ammo. It seemed he cared until he told me to get the fuck out of his office before they all got killed. I had to get out of Wall Street fast. With a gun in my briefcase and hugging my laptop, I ran to my apartment in record time, entering it as if I was robbing the joint. Shit, shit, shit. I yelled as I ran from room to room and stuffed as much I could into a gym bag. I grabbed a knife and my bourbon. I was running for the door when I suddenly froze. Jesus, my cell charger. I dashed back to my bedroom, ripped the charger from the wall plug and bolted from the apartment, slamming the door of my privileged world. I waited at the elevator, pacing back and forth. It was the longest wait of my life. I heard it approach and hid behind the slightly open stairwell door. As the elevator doors opened, my fear was justified. What's his apartment number? Oh, he lives at the end in 418. We'd better do this job right. Sorry.
30 seconds.
Oh, okay. I can keep going? Yep. I'm not boring anyone. Okay. We'd better do this job right. We'll be shark bait. As they disappeared, I jumped into the elevator. Once the door was closed, I realised the elevator was going up. Fuck no. The elevator reached the top floor and then descended. I was gradually pushed towards the back as people entered from several floors. I was sure my desperation was visible as the elevator approached my floor. Sweat trickled down my back as the doors opened on my floor. I was a sitting duck. Jesus, whacked in an elevator. This was not how I wanted my life to end. How sad is that? Oh.
For someone who hasn't read much, you did very well. So well done.
Oh, yeah. Did I tell you I don't read much?
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not really a reader. I watched a lot of movies in my life.
Yeah.
So it is a bit cliche and movie stuff. So, yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool.